Welcome, my political friends of the interwebs. Got my cheat sheets. Thank you for those of you who commented and shared and in general supported my segue back into politics. I appreciate it. I know a lot of you have said, well, I've seen this before. That's true. Lots can change in a hurry in my life. I wanted to touch on some of the questions people wanted me to answer, and that's exactly what I am going to do, starting with the amazing supporter, Starbuck Road. And Starbuck wanted for me to explain kind of the whole pay for play corruption and the deep state thing. But he wanted me to do it kind of like to kind of like set it up like Pinhead and Target Oil and Gas. And really, there's no comparison, to be completely honest. Pinhead, low-level criminal, kind of like a dime a dozen kind of guy, would buy people's pain pills from them for, pennies on the dollar, and then he would turn around and sell those for a profit. Pinhead. He's not in the kind of league that Hunter Biden or Joe Biden or really any of the deep staters are in. So there's really no way to kind of like make that reality, make that connection. And as far as Target Oil and Gas, now they were definitely a notch up from Pinhead. Oh, huge notch up, several notches up. They like to think of themselves as the hillbilly mafia. But even them, they made I think it was estimated $10 million defrauding oil and gas investors. But $10 million is chump change. I know they like to think of themselves as the hillbilly mafia and all this stuff. And I guess on a low-level kind of way or a low-rent trailer kind of way, that's what they were. They were the hillbilly mafia. But they did much better than Pinhead. But they were not even remotely in the same league as a Hunter Biden. Or Joe Biden, for that matter. Because understand this. Joe Biden is the epicenter of the corruption. Joe Biden and Barack Obama. So I'll get to that in a minute. I do want to talk about the pay-to-play type of scenario, though, because that I think is kind of important. A lot of people don't really understand what that means, but what that is a level of corruption, and people will pay politicians for favoritism, access to. A good example is, and in a kind of roundabout way, Hunter Biden's Hunter Biden's uncle or Joe Biden's brother, who had literally no experience in in building homes and building apartments and building anything. But yet, when it came to getting contracts and these were no bid contracts, getting contracts for reconstruction of Iraq, and I think maybe Afghanistan, don't know about that, but I know for sure Iraq, he created a company, a construction company, and he was given millions upon millions upon millions worth of contracts to build, housing and stuff in Iraq, where he had no experience in doing that. But he paid, and I'm sure there was a kickback scheme too. So I guess maybe it's not quite the pay-per-play. But let's just say that that wasn't Joe Biden's brother. Let's just pretend that. And yet this guy got these no-bid contracts awarded to him, even though he didn't have any real construction history or any kind of experience in doing the type of things that we were needing done over there. But yet he kind of kicked a little bit back to Joe Biden, or flat out paid him before he even got the contracts. A lot of times that's the way it works. That's a pay to play type of thing. People that had legitimate construction contracting companies that would have liked to have been over there and helped and had the experience to help, and of course they'd like to get paid. They were blocked out of it because they were playing fair. They were trying to do the system the way it was designed to do, when unfortunately there's a lot of flaws, and one of which is, if your brother's the vice president of these here United States, my only question is, and I really hope that someday there's a deep dive by honest people in our federal government into who all got paid. Because when I look at Barack Obama's mansion on the waterfront in, Kennebunkport, or one of those ritzy places, that, by the way, have no low-income housing at all. Their idea of low-income housing is the $4 million mansion. That's where the peasants live. I do believe that that Barack Obama is every bit as filthy as Joe Biden. And I believe that's one of the reasons that he put Joe Biden in charge of places like the Ukraine, which was a den of thieves. And I will tell you, and I hope I'm not stepping on anybody else's questions, but the one thing I've learned, and not that I didn't always suspect it, but the one thing that I've learned is that this whole foreign aid program is nothing but a freaking scam. It is a scam on the American taxpayer. So here's how this works. And this is not complicated. This is pretty simple math, to be honest. So Ukraine, I was using Ukraine for an example, but this would apply to a lot of the countries around the world that get foreign aid from the United States. And we're talking real money. So, but I used the foreign aid to the Ukraine. So there was $1.2 billion, 3 or 4 United States money going to the Ukraine in foreign aid. And that encompassed a lot of things. But here's the way it works. Barack Obama put Joe Biden in charge of the Ukraine. So, basically, he was the bag man for that. His son later became the bag man for Burisma and other companies. But so what happens is you have Joe Biden going in there, and he's basically got the purse strings on behalf of the United States of America. And he says to this corrupt government, we're going to give you over $1 billion. Now this, what I'm telling you, doesn't have anything to do with the fact that he tried to withhold that money in order to get the prosecutor that was investigating Burisma fired, the company that his son was sitting on the board of, even though he had no experience in oil and gas, whatever. So, but he's controlling over $1 billion of U.S. funds, and he goes to whoever his counterpart is, or whoever it is in the Ukraine, who's in charge of accepting that money and doing the paperwork and the yeoman's work on that end. He basically says, look, I'm going to need a little something. Now, here's the thing. That money is then, some of this came back. So if you're talking about $1 billion, I don't think it would be unreasonable to believe that 100 million of that, maybe 2, got kicked back to the Obama administration. And of course, money sprinkled amongst the deep staters and the FBI and the CIA and everybody that's got their hand out in order to not screw up the apple cart, like Donald Trump did, So the one question, to be honest with you, that I wish that Joe Biden would be asked, he's not going to be asked this, unfortunately, nobody planted this in Donald Trump's head, President Trump's head. I would like him to be asked one question, point blank. Do you or have you ever had control of a numbered offshore bank account? I don't care, Caymans, Switzerland, Zurich. I don't care what offshore bank. Is there a bank that he's ever had control of, which means the money into that account? And I'd also like to know, is he aware of any bank or numbered offshore bank account that Barack Obama was in control, or John Brennan? Or you name any one of them, Comey, any one of them. Do any of them have offshore bank accounts where money's flowing into? And I would love for that to be answered. And follow that question up with, and if the answer is no, would you sign off that we can ask for the bank records? You're okay with that, right? Just sign right here. Sign right here. Yeah. You know that there is just an enormous amount of money from in our politicians' pockets that are in the offshore bank accounts. It's just the way it works. All the accounts are numbered. There's a number, whatever number that may be. As long as you have that number, then you have access to those funds. Okay, John Calafo, who has been a friend of mine for a very long time. He's a very cool dude, huge aviator guy, and one hell of a photographer, especially the aviation photographer. Amazing. Anyway, he was telling me, and I didn't really know this, but listen, when John tells you something about the internet, you take it to the bank. He said that a lot of these search engines, like Bing and whatnot, are using Google results. So by proxy, all right, they're basically filtering the search results via Google. So what happens is, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, if I type into Bing and I'm searching for best apple pie recipe, and what Bing does is very quickly basically filter that through a Google search, and the results that come back are from Google. So if Google's manipulating search results, unfortunately, and it's the way I at least understood what John said, that actually gets filtered to the other search engines. So yeah, kind of interesting, and that's a story I think that a lot of people need to hear about if that's what's really going on. Big John, he had a lot to say. Big John, the question of whether we will go to war with China over trade, I think that is something that is a possibility if Donald Trump gets reelected, because Donald Trump ain't playing no games when it comes to China, whereas Joe Biden has already sold out to China. The first Americans that sold out to China were the Clintons. And some of you are old enough to remember when they were in there stealing, while Bill Clinton was president, BJ was president, the Chinese were stealing our stealth technology and missile guidance technology. So here's the thing about missiles that's interesting. Now, yeah, unfortunately, with a nuclear device, you only got to get close. But the thing of it is, if you can have a better guidance system that will actually pinpoint where that missile is going to fall, you can shrink the size of the payload, which will make everything better. Easier to build, faster to build, because you don't need such a huge explosion. You don't need all that. Plus, if your end game is to occupy territory, you limit all the radioactive exposure to. So yeah, I think that if our president gets reelected, I think there may be a chance that we have to think about war with China, because President Trump isn't sold. He's not been bought and paid for, not by Putin, not by China, not by anybody. And that's the problem. Whereas if Biden's president, they've already bought him. There's no need to go to war because he's going to undo all the things that Trump did. He's going to hand him our piggy bank. It's exactly what's going to happen. He's going to hand the till over to China. Also, John talked about global warming. Big John, global warming and I are like, I am old enough to remember in the 70s. He was talking about the 80s, but I remember in the 70s where everything was the new ice age, the coming ice age. And it was ridiculous. The whole thing, all the science has always been ridiculous and manipulated to fit an agenda. That's just the truth, an agenda. And I got to be honest with you, I'm surprised that no matter how many times they alter their script, no matter how many times they've been proven wrong, you go back to An Inconvenient Truth, which was Al Gore's propaganda film. All of the things that he said would happen. Well, they never say will happen. They always say could happen or might happen. Funny enough, Barack Obama, who would be privy to all the serious science information, even stuff that we don't know about, chose to buy a house, basically beachfront property. And when you confront the leftists about it, the global warming enthusiasts, they try to tell you some cock and bull story about how his island home, that's so close to the beach where you can see the beach from the back door, is so high elevation-wise. They're lunatics, and you can't argue with them because they're not trying to hear the truth. And they always have these bogus sites that they can refer to. Oh, if you go to this site, here's the evidence. Their evidence. Mother Jones? Get the. All right, Wrath of the Monarch. All right. Oh, he said that if, what did he say? That if Biden wins, or no, he didn't say that. What he said was that this information about Hunter Biden's laptop and all this stuff, kind of like the proverbial, where the iceberg struck the Titanic, started taking on water, but nobody other than a little shimmy, nobody really felt anything. The ship didn't automatically sink, and a lot of people didn't believe it was going to sink because it was touted as the unsinkable Titanic. But over time, then started listing, and then what he is saying is that this laptop, the information that's on it, all of these damning things, are not going to be able to be kept secret, no matter how much the media would like to help facilitate the covering up of the story. But he says once that whole thing breaks loose, he says it's gonna be lit like Hunter Biden's crack pipe. Have any of you been challenged about calling it a crack pipe because it's technically the one that it was technically a meth pipe? Here's my attitude about that. Okay, so you're gonna bust my balls because I call it a crack pipe, and it's really a meth pipe, and that's an issue for you? That nullifies the whole story to you? Whatever. He smokes meth too. I seen a photo of him doing a line of coke off a Ukrainian chick's ass. Hooker. Nice ass on the hooker too, I might add. Yeah, so most of those pictures, it's a meth pipe. But, I think that he has an equal opportunity get higher. Whatever you got. It's like, are you in the church? What do you got? And that's Joe Biden. Excuse me, Joe Biden's son. Although sometimes Joe acts like a crackhead himself. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. Keep the questions coming. I love this. Yeah, this is the first one from the preacher bench in a very, very long time. Let me know what you think. I'm cool with it. I saved this for a reason. I sold most of the rest of my equipment, but I kept this preacher bench for a reason. So anyway, get back with me. Let me know, everybody. Hey, look, vote Trump to save our country. Peace.